Hello, all you tiny little beautiful people. Welcome to my top 10 comic villains. A bit over a month ago, I did my top 10 favorite comic heroes, and it did alright. And this time I feel like explaining what I'm using as metrics, what I'm looking at, what I'm thinking of, what makes these villains great, what makes them good, what makes them my favorite. And I'm going to start with longevity, because being a villain of the week is one thing, but being a rival to a hero or a group of heroes, or even just multiple heroes who are not a group, kind of bumps you up, because it not only implies that there's so much more written of that said like villain, and that there's so many more stories featuring them and so many more storylines with them and blah blah blah, but it also has like the implication of you are better as a villain than all of these villain of the week characters. These characters who show up once, never again, or they show up once a year, or they sporadically show up and disappear, are probably not as great as the ones that are there every single time. Another thing that I will be taking in consideration is how well they work as a group villain alongside how they work as a villain for a singular person. For example, the Joker is a great opponent for Batman. However, Joker versus Superman, it's kind of boring. Joker versus Spider-Man, it's kind of boring. He works really well for his hero, whereas someone like Thanos is a perfect villain for a group. He's perfect for fighting the Avengers. He's perfect for fighting the Guardians of the Galaxy. You can throw him in with the X-Men. You can throw him in with random mashups of those characters. But if you were to make an Iron Man standalone show and Thanos was the big bad, it would feel almost out of place. Same with pretty much any hero. He's kind of like the blueprint for group villain. So both of those are important. If they are a tremendous one-on-one villain, that's great, but they get bonus points if they are good against a group. Or if that villain works well in groups. What's a good example for that? Bane. Bane is really smart, really strong, blah, blah, blah. Everybody who, if you're watching this video, you probably know a bit about these characters. But Bane is he's perfect for a group because he is the muscle while also being the brain. And he doesn't sacrifice one for the other, he just is both. And then you throw him in a group with a Lex Luthor or a Mr. Freeze, or you throw him in there with the Joker, or you throw him in there with who else has he been grouped with? I feel like I've seen him with Sinestro once or twice. You can put him in a group, which is bonus points, and then extra bonus points if they are the leader of a group of villains, because it implies that they are a much worse villain than the rest of them for being in charge over them. Also, it's my top 10, right? It's my favorite villains. So it's subjective. It is entirely subjective, and it is entirely on my opinions and my thoughts and my history with these characters and where I've seen them taken in physical media like comics, which are behind me, high comic books. Or if it is something more along the lines of I've seen them in a game or a movie, or maybe they're just something that means a lot to me due to nostalgia. Who knows? But we will be getting into it. I have the list written down, just bullet points. All the stuff else I will improv off the dome. So let's pop her open and get into number 10. Whoopsh. At number 10, I have one that I think is the most sleeper pick, the most underdog, not in the sense of the storylines that he's in, but in the sense of he's not typically one that so many people rant about. He's not one that so many people typically are going like, that's my favorite, that's who I want to see in this movie or this game or whatever. And that's Scarecrow. I love Scarecrow. I love his designs in most things. I think he's one that can be goofy and fantastical in like a storyline, and then in the very next storyline just be like batshit insane and genuinely horrifying. And like it's the fact that he can do both of those in like the same universe. He can do both of those all the time. I also think that a villain that specifically uses fear in Gotham, which is such a big deal. I mean, Batman's whole thing is instilling fear into street thugs and mafia members and blah blah blah. And this leads to a very fun dynamic because Bruce and whoever's with him, whether it be members of the Gotham PD or if they are a Robin or whatever, they are using this like level of fear to fix things and to help the world and to fix the city and to help the people in it. And then on the other end, you have this guy who's on a full another level of fear, and he's using it for personal gain. He's using it for chaos. He's using it for whatever it is in the moment that he is getting out of it. I think Scarecrow is super fucking cool. I think Scarecrow should be used in a movie, actually, and not just what they did. I really like Cillian Murphy's like depiction, in the sense of like I liked The Mask and I liked the way that he performed, but he didn't get a lot to do. He didn't get a lot of time on the screen. He didn't get a whole lot of lines. He was just kind of there. He was kind of like the B villain of the film that he was in. And I think Scarecrow deserves like a solid shot. I think every time he's been used in gaming, it's worked. Whether it be the Lego versions of him, which are super silly and dumb, or the silly version from like Arkham Asylum, or if you want to go more towards like the Arkham Knight route of making him this big scary fucker, I think it works. It's really fun. I love them like digging into how working with these people who are mentally challenged or mentally deranged, or if they've gone insane or whatever it may be, is bad for the psyche of these doctors, and that it in some iterations is what leads him into his villainy. And I think it's really interesting. I think it's a really big like kind of period piece on a certain era of the way that not only like the doctors and whatnot are treated, but also the people themselves who have whatever psychosis or whatever it is going on, and how they were treated during a certain time period, especially in the United States. Dear Lord, was it a big thing? Lobotomy, anyone? So I think Scarecrow is a tremendous villain. I think Scarecrow's a tremendous character, and I think if we got a solid version of that character put out there and just shown to the world, I think he could be the next big deal. And that's with me not even like going into his like cartoon stuff. Dude, Scarecrow in cartoons is the bomb, period. He's just like, I love Mark Hamill's Joker. It's like the best Joker, period. The only character in stuff where Mark Hamill is Joker that ever outshines him is Scarecrow to me. To me. Subjective, it's opinionated, whatever. This might actually get like the two of you that are watching this and care. I don't like Joker. He's not on my list. He would not be in the top 50, I don't think. He's probably in there. He's not top 20. He's probably in the 30s or something. I don't like him. He's way too overused. Scarecrow's great. I love Scarecrow. Matt Reeves. Batman 2, probably going to be the Freeze movie. You know, Gotham's froze, got all the water and such. Make the third one Scarecrow. I like Scarecrow. Or James Gunn. You have a Batman thing. Do Scarecrow. I love Scarecrow. You're doing Clayface. Clayface is great. He's not on my list, but I love him. I do love me some Clayface. And Two-Face, but he's been used a bunch, so maybe not. Nah, I don't know. Anyways, on to number 9. At number 9, we have one that I love, but funnily enough, it's the one on the list that I know the least about. And that's Reverse Flash. I love the dynamic between Barry and Eobard. It's fucking great. It was me and what have you. I love that dynamic. He is a perfect hater. He's not... I mean, in some, like, different iterations, right? Like, you'll get different versions of the character and different wants, different needs, different reasons behind stuff. But for the most part, he's really an agent of chaos. And I really dig it. A lot of Agent of Chaos villains are just kind of bad. Like, Doomsday is a pretty shitty character. I'm just not into... He's like my least favorite Superman villain. I hate that fucking guy. There's nothing redeeming there. He's just chaos, end quote. It's very boring. But Reverse Flash is like the good chaos. He's super... Well, no, he's not good. But like he's chaotic and he's hateful and he is a fucking asshole. But he's so charismatic in the way that he's a piece of shit, if that makes sense. Like, Reverse Flash will do something that's despicable and gross and horrid, but it's kind of like cool. He kind of makes it seem cool, kind of like how like some people make smoking look cool even though smoking is bad for you. It's very much like that. The stuff he does seems cool because of the ways he does it, because of the very few versions of him that have existed, either through the TV show or cartoons. He has a very specific way that he's been performed, which I really like. He's not always Thawne, which I didn't know until like this past year. Sometimes he's not Eobard Thawne, which I didn't know. But he's definitely on my list because of how much I like him and how intriguing he is and how much I want to watch more of him and read more of him. However, I don't know as much about him as I do anyone else on this list. So I will have the least to say, about Reverse Flash. I will cap off my statements on him by saying that he is fun, he is gross, he is the best version of just some crazy chaos. And also, I think he's probably the best, like, he's probably the best non-big three DC villain. And, like, obviously on my list, right, he's on there, so of course he is, but, like, I feel like in a almost objective level, when it comes to DC, it's like Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, and then, like, you could throw Green Lantern and Flash in there. Every once in a while you can interchange a few people. But for the most part, that's like the big three. That's the trio, right? And their villains are kind of like the big ones. You know, like, Darkseid's typically a Superman thing. Joker's the cash cow. Batman's Rogues is considered, like, the best ever. Lex Luthor, onward. But, like, outside of, like, that trio, Reverse Flash is kind of the shit. You know what I mean? Like, he's kind of like the pinnacle of DC's villains. Well, for the most part. We'll get there. Love him. He's so gross. It was me. Remember that time in middle school whenever you had a girl over and you came before your pants were down? It was me, Barry. It was me. Speaking of DC's trio, the big three. Bane, which is the best Batman villain, I think. I love Bane. And I'll get into some of what makes Bane the best antagonist for Batman. Because a lot of people say Joker. And I don't hate Joker. I just think Joker is very, very, very overutilized. And somebody who I think isn't is Bane. Bane is a super interesting character in the sense that, well, before I get into like, oh, he's smart and strong, he is so tragic in a way that I feel most DC villains aren't. Not in the sense that DC villains are never tragic, but more so in the sense that the tragedies that befall most DC villains are brought on by themselves. And that's kind of like a big deal with a lot of like villains in comics and movies and blah blah blah. Is like bad things happen to them that are out of their control, they turn bad. Bad things happen to them that are in their control, they become a hero, right? And then in DC, there's a lot of situations where it's like Sinestro typically becomes a Yellow Lantern based on his own, like, issues. It is a him problem. Lex Luthor has a skill issue with the Superman stuff and whatnot, and most of it's like a weird human insecurity that leads to him being this villain. And Bane doesn't really have that. He is born and immediately spends the first 18 years of his life in a prison, where he is treated like dog shit. He's not given anything. Well, like, obviously that's treated poorly. And then he trains his body, he trains his mind, he trains his soul, and then he gets out of there. And then he has, like, these visions, in a way, like nightmares of a bat. And then the Batman happens. I think that initial run of Bane is some of the most well put together, like, building of a character that's ever been written in anything. The way that instead of just one day randomly the villain shows up like every other comic, he's in the background, he's in the darkness, and he's slowly figuring stuff out about Bruce, about Batman. And when he finally strikes, he fucking breaks the dude's back. Like, he destroys this guy who's, like, been the big dog this whole time. And he's got all of these other villains working not with him, for him. And it's so fucking cool. And he's this huge hulking figure, but he's not dumb. He's not a meathead. He's crazy intelligent. He's the most intelligent villain that ever, like, comes for Batman. He outshines him physically and mentally, and that's what makes him so, like, devastating on that character. And then you have, like, all of that is just his initial build. And now he's been around for, what year was, one moment, 32 years now. There's been a lot more with the character. The character has been used in comics, it's been used in cartoons, it's been used in 2 separate films, one of which is, and the other of which is good. I like Tom Hardy's Bane. I enjoyed it. Also, I like when Bane is big and strong, but not the Hulk. Not that I hate giant fucking beef Bane, but I definitely prefer when he's, like, I don't know the right term. I don't want to say humanly possible, because sometimes he's still fucking crazy big, but, like, when he's at a size where his movement is still a possibility. I think the Arkham games bully him about it pretty good. Of just, like, he's so goddamn big and so goddamn slow. I like whenever he's huge and very, 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 very strong, but still, like, physically able to move and fight. Because he's not just hyper powerful, he's a great fighter. That's why he beats Bruce's ass. It's not because he goes bop once and that's the end of the fight. It's because he knows how to fight. I love Bane. I think Bane needs like a good like mainstream thing. Because as much as like the Dark Knight has like that trilogy does have Bane, and I really like the performance and I like where they take it for the most part. It kind of doesn't tell the story of Bane very well. It kind of buries the story of Bane beneath a D-tier antagonist that is hoisted up to be the main antagonist. And then Bruce and Bane's relationship basically doesn't have, like, there's nothing there. It's very weird. It's very weird. I think Bane needs, like, a good main, like, big pop culture thing. I don't know what, but something. Something. Just something. I don't know. He needs something, though. I wish I knew what off the top of my head. Anyways, on to number 7. Wapoosh. Number 7 is the Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, who is one of the most... I don't know the term. He is a very intriguing character who throughout the years has had such a big shift in the way that they are brought into the storyline and the way that they are picked up to be a bigger deal. A big example for this character is the difference between the original Bucky Barnes in really old comic runs in comparison to the version of Bucky Barnes that is most known by, like, the most of the populace that would know about the character in this more modern, like, full-grown adult by the time he, like, disappears, and then, like, going into the Winter Soldier not as somebody who was a childhood sidekick of Captain America, but somebody who was like a brother to him and around the same age, if not older, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's kind of crazy how different old Bucky and new Bucky are as a character, period, much less the differences throughout all that time for the Winter Soldier. I love Bucky as a character, but I especially love like the heel turn. I especially love the run of Bucky as the bad guy, as the Winter Soldier. My favorite comic book movie, Marvel, that's not even accurate. How do I explain that? My favorite non-animated Marvel film is Winter Soldier. There. I love that movie. I watched and saw and read Captain America stuff whenever I was little. Matter of fact, one of my first comic memories is reading a Winter Soldier, like the old school Winter Soldier run. Soldier run. And I don't remember too much of that run. I need to reread it. I want to. I don't have it. Probably find something online to do that. Blah, 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 blah. But that film made me fall in love with that character, and since then it has been like one of my go-tos. That movie's a go-to. Bucky's one of my favorite characters to find memes and fan art and whatnot of. And then seeing that shift from young Bucky to old Bucky, like obviously the movie, but like a lot of comics now do Bucky as like, not that that's like brand new or anything, but like I definitely prefer that. But it's really interesting to see the differences. And then seeing like the differences in the ways that people write for the Winter Soldier based on, because like most stories that contain him don't end with him as a bad guy, and because of that they kind of like they're kind of like stepping on eggshells or trying not to while writing for him, which I think is really interesting to see. But I love Bucky. I love Winter Soldier. I love Winter Soldier. I love the relationship between Cap and Winter Soldier. I love that most of the time it becomes a psychological thing rather than a physical fist fight. The fist fight is always there, but they add all the psychological stuff, and I think it's really fucking interesting. I'm rambling. Time for number 6. The single best DC villain, and number 6 on my list of villains, period, is Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor is the blueprint. He is the original rival. He is the villain to Superman. He is one of the most sought after villain names. He's one of the like go-tos in supervillains. He's one of the go-tos for DC. He's a go-to, period, end quote, just overall. He is a grade A hater, a grade A asshat, and a perfect antagonist for the embodiment of hope. I think the juxtaposition of Lex Luthor and Clark Kent is perfect. It is one of the most important and valuable relationships in media. It is one of the most talked about and redone character relationships, period, alongside being one of the most fun to like see how different people do it relationships that I've had the opportunity to view. Lex is insecure. Lex is damn near perfect human. Like, he is extremely strong. He is one of the smartest people, if not the smartest person on the planet. He has everything he could ever want. He's extremely successful money-wise and also reward-wise and philanthropy-wise. He is the pinnacle of humans and their limitations, yet he is so frustrated and so hateful and so conceited, and a lot of it isn't really a thing that can be placed blame on anything other than just who he is. I think Lex is a perfect example of a villain that is designed not to be a perfect fight, but to be a perfect antagonist. Because there's a lot of villains out there that are made pretty much to be like cannon fodder. They're made to be a fight for a few pages and then some words, and that's about it. Rhino is an interesting character. I love Rhino, but overall he's mostly used as just, there's a truck barreling forward and it doesn't have brakes. That's what Rhino is. Lex is very much not that, because he's just a dude. Sure, he can make this giant mech, he can use kryptonite, whatever it may be, but at the end of the day, he's just a guy. And that's so much more valuable towards the relationship that he has with Superman, because Superman wants nothing more than to just be a guy. Clark wants to be human so bad. He wants to just be a person. He wants to just be normal. He is a being with unfathomable power and unfathomable speed, and he doesn't have anyone to share that with. And that's why, not entirely, but that is like why he loves humanity. He loves people. He loves Earth. Sometimes to a fault, but period, he just does. And Lex isn't plagued with that. He's at the pinnacle of humans and their limitations. He is right along with the smartest humans and the strongest humans and blah, blah, blah. However, instead of grounding him and putting him into the spot that Clark wants to be in, it pushes him to where Clark is, and it shows that Clark's closer to human than Lex himself is. For as much as Lex rants and hates the idea of this alien being, he strives to be Superman, and Superman strives to be less like that. And that's not that Superman wants to get rid of his powers and stop helping people. It's more so just wanting to be on that level of humanity, wanting to be just like those he loves and not having it. And that is why their relationship is so perfect. It's why it doesn't need to be mixed up and changed every 5 years, because it kind of never gets old. It never gets old, it never gets stale, it never loses what's so intriguing about it, because you kind of can't put in a finite, they can never visit this ever again without one of the characters dying. It is a super intriguing relationship, and I think without Lex Luthor, Superman is almost made into a parody of himself. And that's not to say that Clark needs Lex in every single piece of media, because he just doesn't. That's just not accurate. I think you can do a lot of Superman stuff without a Lex Luthor. And I'm actually very excited to see what James Gunn is cooking with non-Lex Luthor Superman stuff. Of course, after we get their team-up film. But I think that the support that we as a society have put into the idea of Superman and the values of Superman and fucking almost 100 years of comics and whatnot, I think all of that would be lesser without Lex and without the relationship that those two have built for 90 fucking years. Lex Luthor is the blueprint for a comic villain. And it's not because he's the oldest. It's because he's the fucking best. Love Lex. That being said, there's no more DC. There's no more DC. Oh no. The 3 DC marks that see this are going to be mad at me. Ruh-roh. Anyways, on to number 5, Wapoosh. Number 5's Kingpin. You can call him Wilson Fisk, you can call him Kingpin. I don't really care about the naming convention of him. I think he's dope. So, to get into it, who is he the villain of? Great question. Yes is the answer to that. You want him to fight Luke Cage? Fine. Iron Fist? Fine. Daredevil? Fine. Hawkeye? Fine. Spider-Man? Fine. And it just keeps going. Because he's not Rhino, but he's strong. He's not like Luthor, but he's smart. He is the best part of whatever your favorite villain is, whatever their biggest strength is, he has it. Maybe not to that extent, but he has it. And on top of that, he doesn't need to make robots to fight you. He's a fucking political genius. Sometimes he's the mayor. He like doesn't need to make a robot or get an alien to fight you. He has the people. He has the cops. He has the mafia. He has the magia. He has random people who need money. He is the Kingpin. It's not a moniker that he got from a fist fight or something he has tattooed across his back because he thinks it looks cool. It's what he is. He's the Kingpin. He's not a kingpin. He's not a figurehead in this big back and forth gang war. He's the gang war. Not only is he the top of the side that's winning, he's the top of the side that's losing too. He's over everybody. And that's what makes him so fucking scary. It's not that he can fistfight Spider-Man, which he can do most of the time. It's not that he's smarter than you, which he is most of the time. It's that his number advantage isn't like 5v1 or 100-5. It's, I pay everyone. I know who you are. Back down or your house is foreclosed. End quote. Or, superheroes are illegal, unless you're Spider-Man. Deal with everything, Peter. He is a perfect fuck you to the status quo of these heroes. Personally, I think he's written best for Daredevil. I think his fights are best with Spider-Man. I think he's written best for Daredevil, but he works for so many people. And it's such a breath of fresh air to have the guy, to have the guy at the top, the Kingpin, to just be a dude. Because sometimes he has super strength or he's super, like, durable, but for the most part, Wilson's just a dude. He's a big dude, but he's just a dude. And I think introducing, like, little powers, like, oh, he's super resilient, or, oh, he has, like, low-tier super strength. That's fine. But I think giving him, like, laser vision would make him boring. Also, drip. Is he the drippiest villain? Maybe. He's got a lot of fucking drip. I think one of the things that makes Fisk so fun of a villain is that he kind of mirrors real-life villainy in a way. Because, like, his dudes will murder your family, and nothing will happen. None of them will get in trouble. Kinda hits crazy right now. Or paying this cop off. I now own this cop. It sounds like some stuff that's happened. Not like right now, maybe, I don't know. But like, period. It's kind of scary. And it makes you think. And he kind of throws a wrench in people's plans by being who he is. By having such a overwhelming power over not just a police officer or not just a random gang member, but over, like, the city as a whole. Because if everyone knows that he's the bad guy, he already won. And if no one knows that he's the bad guy, he's probably winning. It's very much a all or nothing with Fisk, where he's either going balls deep in something, or he's not fucking touching it. And I think that's very interesting, because a lot of villains get to half-ass a lot. They get to mess up, they get to fail. They're the bad guy, you want them to lose. Whereas with Fisk, I feel most of the stories that he's in, he's kind of winning most of the time. And I like him a lot. I also really like Tombstone. Tombstone's great. Kingpin's better than Tombstone, but Tombstone is awesome. We love Tombstone. He's my honorable mention there. I forgot to do one earlier. There's my honorable. Tombstone's the honorable mention. But I love Kingpin. Kingpin is awesome. Anyways, on to number 4, Wapoosh. Oh, sorry, 4. Whoopsh. Somehow, me, the one that is madly in love with Spider-Man. Spider-Man's like my favorite thing. Not even just comic, just thing. I love Spider-Man. Somehow there's only one like Spider-Man villain on here, which I'm not gonna change my list. But I'm almost upset at myself that there's not more Spider-Man characters on here. I mean, I guess Kingpin. Yeah, Kingpin is sometimes a Spider-Man villain, I guess. Doc Ock. Doc Ock is my favorite one-on-one villain, period. I love him. I do have like a heavy nostalgia bias towards Ock, but I don't care. It's my list. It's subjective. If your favorite's not on my list, it's okay. And if my favorite isn't on your list, it's okay. It's subjective. But I love Doc Ock. Doc Ock is my favorite Spider-Man villain. Doc Ock is my favorite one-on-one villain. Doc Ock is my favorite non-group villain. Period. There's a cat behind the computer. His whisker just flew past the screen, and I was digging his head into the back of the computer. You okay, buddy? Yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh, he's moving the computer. He's moving the computer. You're not going on the computer, buddy. Last time you did that, you broke the audio. And I crashed out. Not at you, but period. Don't choke. I guess we get cat time for a minute. Hi. This is this is cat checkpoint. Oh, he hates being on camera. Okay. You good, buddy? You okay? You gonna lay down back there? You gonna lay down, or you just gonna stare at me? I feel weird being looked at while I'm recording. Yeah, lick your paw. I love you, Papa. He's being a little weirdo. Hey, put your head over here. Oh, no, I couldn't get him. Oh, by the computer. He hates the computer. You okay? Are you gonna get my lap? Oh, he's getting my lap. You can. Okay. You can go that way, too. Hello? I'll be back whenever the cat's not on the computer. Anyways, I love Doc Ock. Doc Ock is awesome. My favorite my favorite comic book movie growing up was Spider-Man 2, starring Alfred Molina as Doc Ock. My favorite video game of all time is Spider-Man PS4, where the main antagonist in the latter half of the game is Doc Ock. That game made me cry about 94 times, like 3 of which were Ock related. Doc Ock is fucking awesome. I love Doc Ock. Doc Ock is a character that I wish I had like a good like statuette of. I love Doc Ock. Ock is a really interesting character. I really prefer whenever he is depicted with like medical issues that lead to the arms rather than just scientist make thing go burr. I definitely prefer whenever it's like more personal and towards like what with PS4 with what it does, where it's like, oh, his like he's got some issues with his spinal cord and it's messing with his brain and he can't use him arms. And I think that's really interesting, and I think it's a really disturbing way to have the character, but it's like the best version of him is that like disturbing version. I think Ock is a perfect antagonist for Spider-Man. I think Ock is a very fun character. I mean, he steals Peter's body and parades around as him for a while. That's pretty crazy, yeah. He marries Aunt May, kills a couple people, including Peter a few different times. I love Doc Ock. He's the best, dude. He's so cool. His design is so cool. I love Ock. Ock is so cool. Doc Ock is so dope. I wish I had his drip. Due to the fact that I don't want this video to be 3 hours long, on these last 4, I'm gonna try not to rant too long. So to close out my thoughts on Doc Ock, I think he is my favorite villain for my favorite character. He is the main antagonist of my favorite game. And he has one of the coolest, like, get-ups ever. Yeah. Anyways, on to number 3. Whoopsh. Number 3 is Magneto, who I think is the perfect, he is like a perfect example and a perfect blueprint for a group villain. I love Magneto. Magneto is awesome. He's a tremendous antagonist. He's also a really fucking good protagonist. He's a tremendous bad guy, but he's also a really, 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 really good guy. I think having his history tie so deeply into the Holocaust adds so much sympathetic charm to the character, and it adds so much dark edge without making it like cringy 2008 everything has to be dark and edgy. It almost hurts to see and read and watch that character and what he and his loved ones have been through. I think most of the time he's a fairly valid villain. He's just way too far out in what he is doing. In his crash shots are valid, but they go way too fucking far. And I think that's what makes him so interesting is it feels like, for the most part, like everybody does weird shit that they just shouldn't do. Heroes, villains, real life people. But with Magneto, it feels like a majority of the stuff he wants to do is good. However, the stuff he's doing is really fucked up. And if you're one of those people who like Magneto and you're like, oh, he's never done anything wrong, you're fucking insane. You're crazy. He is a villain. Period. He becomes a good guy in a lot of situations, but that doesn't take away the fact that he murders people, sometimes in cold blood. Or that most of the time he wants to get rid of all of humans that aren't mutants. You know, like, he's still pretty fucked. But I think the beauty of Magneto is how much... I think the beauty comes from the fact that even with him doing all of that fucked shit, you're like, oh, I mean, he's right. He's wrong. He should not be doing that, but his point is correct. And that's what adds, like, so much nuance to the character, is his thoughts are correct, his actions are wrong. And because of that, it makes you question those thoughts, because if they lead to this terrible thing, how correct are they? Or, man, if all of this bad comes from it, is it really good to have that belief? And typically the answer to that is yes, because it's his decisions and whatnot, and his actions that are the problem, not his ideologies or his belief system, which are really typically good. Obviously there's some issues in there. I'm not a Magneto apologist. He's fucked. But I love Magneto. I think Magneto and the Professor have a very intriguing dynamic that has been done so well in so many different ways, In comics, obviously, it's a big deal. And then in cartoons, it was done very well. And then in the early 2000s and late 90s and blah, 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 it was done really well again in live action. And then that same universe had it happen with two different actors in a different time period playing the exact same characters, and it also still worked. They have one of the most important rivalries in comic history. I feel like Lex and Clark are number one. I feel like Magneto and Professor X could be number two on that list. And then the guy who is probably number two, I'll get to him. Magneto is great. Magneto is fun. Magneto is disturbing. Magneto is sympathetic in a way that is, like, almost worrying. And overall, just a really good, like, fundamentally well put together, artistically, character. While also being fucking insane sometimes. Jesus. Anyways, time to get to the guy that I hinted at a second ago. In number 2, Wapoosh. For number 2, I've put probably the, like, he's like the go-to for, like, good. Doctor Doom. I love Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom is so fucking cool. I love Doctor Doom. He's got one of the most, like, stellar, perfect designs in the history of anything ever. So there's that. He has a fucking badass, like, history to him. He's got crazy pop culture stuff due to MF Doom. Rest in peace. Wait a minute. 1 second. Sorry about that. I thought my recording exploded again. I was going to be very frustrated. Anyways, as I was saying, MF Doom brought a lot of credibility and pop culture, like, eyes to Doctor Doom. Doom is great. Period. Doom is the perfect antagonist for Reed Richards. He is the perfect antagonist for the Fantastic Four as a group. He is a perfect antagonist for big group things, while also being able to be slotted in as a quote-unquote good guy for certain periods. I think Doom, similar to Magneto, is sympathetic while still being batshit crazy and wrong. Where Magneto's sympathetic, and then he has his, like, fundamentals are straight, but then his actions are fucking dog shit. Doom is sympathetic, batshit insane, and his actions and reasoning are both fucked. Which adds to a lot more, like, butting of heads whenever he is treated as a quote-unquote good guy. Doom is great. Doom is the single biggest aura farmer in the history of media. I think Doom is great. I'm very afraid of the MCU's rendition of Doom, because so far, man, that guy has had shit luck in live action, huh? Anyways, I love Doom. Doom is eternal. Doom is awesome. One of the most, like, I don't know the right term, one of the most consistently stellar comic characters, because every character has some dog shit. Sadly, every character has dog shit, except for Daredevil. But, like, every character has dog shit. Doom doesn't have a whole lot of dog. He has, like, such minimal dog shit for a comic character. Doom is great. Doom is almost perfect as a villain. I think there is itty-bitty tiny, like, things that you could poke in Doom, but none of which are bad. None of which are, like, ruining. None of them are, like, that big a deal. I can't think of any, but they're definitely there. I can see why somebody would have issue with, like, X, Y, and Z. I disagree, but you could. I'm not so far in the direction of like him being perfect that there's no faults. However, the next guy at number 1, Wapoosh, I don't know if I agree with that. But before we get to number 1, whoosh, number 2, Doctor Doom is damn near perfect. He is a tremendous character. He's a tremendous villain. He's a tremendous antagonist. He's a tremendous, like, is the term deuteragonist? I need to check my Google. I need to Google that real quick because I'm not sure. My phone's tweaking. I'm British. Let me open this up right here. Deuteragonist. Person second in importance to the protagonist in a drama. Yeah, I think you could call him that. Deuteragonist. I think Doom is like a perfect, not the good guy protag. He's a perfect protag whenever you need one that isn't the good guy. For example, Book of Doom is a tremendous, I would call it one novel, I think, if you like put it all together, because it's not that long. I think it's about a novel. I could be wrong. But like that is a really solid, like, great comic story. And there's not really a good guy in it. Doom's the protag, but he's still like a bad guy. I love Doom. Anyways, on to number 1. And now for my favorite villain, who I made a video 2 months ago called Info Dumping about my favorite villain. It's Ultron. Number 1's Ultron. I love Ultron. Ultron's my favorite. I will talk a little bit about it here. However, if you want to hear my uninterrupted Ultron thoughts, at the end of this video there will be a tag to the video that I did that was 50 minutes long of just me ranting about how much I love Ultron and Ultron's history and stuff. Ultron's my favorite. I love Ultron. Ultron is so cool. He is the best design, maybe, of any character ever. And you can update it without it being like a weird visual change because he's a robot. He has perfect relationships with Ant-Man, the Wasp. He has a perfect relationship with Doom. He has a perfect relationship with Kang. He has a perfect relationship with Hulk. He has a perfect relationship with pretty much everybody that he has one with. Wonder Man. He has a tremendous power set. He has a very solid backstory. He has one of, if not the greatest storylines in the history of superhero media with Ant-Man. Multiple stellar comic runs. He gets to leave and come back as a villain in a way that doesn't feel forced or contrived because it's a robot who isn't, like, the body's not literally dead. Well, the body's dead, but, like, it's a programming thing. Perfect. No notes. Ultron is my favorite. I love Ultron. Ultron my favorite. Mimi love Ultron. Mimi love Ultron. Excuse me. I have to belch. Ultron is my favorite. Ultron's my favorite. I love Ultron. I love Ultron. I love Ultron. I love Ultron. And if you're interested in seeing my 50-minute rant about Ultron, it'll be on one of these. And if you're interested in seeing me ranting about my top 10 favorite comic heroes, it will also be one of these. And if you go right here, you can subscribe. And I will see all you dudes next week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Whoopsh.